2024, the new year to start a great thing.
You serious?
Well, this year's Lantern Ride might not be the greatest thing in Genshin history, but that's not the only event that might be big in Genshin Impact. We will have the 4th anniversary. Well, maybe not that either. But one thing for sure, we will have at least one good thing that is coming this year. NATLAN, as the next region that's coming in 2024. Well, I know Fontaine's patch has not even finished their first half yet, but there's some interesting stuff that we need to talk about regarding NATLAN, especially after version 4.4 livestream. So what is interesting about NATLAN? Well, actually, everything about it is interesting, since the day one of Genshin's release, we barely know anything about this nation.
Who are they?
Unlike other regions' information that we can actually guess in the first glance, for example, their real-life reference for each region: Germany,
Überraschung!
China, Japan, and so as Sumeru and Fontaine. Even Snezhnaya that is not even released.
There lived a certain man in Snezhnaya long ago.
We got a lot of speculation regarding which culture NATLAN will be based off on. Maybe this, maybe that, we're not sure which one until we get to version 4.4. So which culture is it? Well, most of lore enthusiasts might already knew this, but for some of us, the last few points in this video might be new. But well, we will come back to this money shot later on, but for now, we're not gonna dive in too deep, as for now, NATLAN only leaves us a few crumbs in the lore. So let's talk about the most interesting thing we've discovered so far about NATLAN and the speculation. So as you might already know, NATLAN is the most mysterious region in Genshin Impact. I mean, they don't have a single NPC or character that we can see in game. Come on Hoyo, even Victor from Snezhnaya did a better job. But that's not why we're here. From the data that we found so far, there's only few things that related to NATLAN based on in-game event. It seems like NATLAN's people are closely related to martial arts, as it's stated by Soshin in Inazuma. NATLAN's people practice shadow boxing, and NATLAN will be a nation that have a lot of volcanic slopes here and there, just like what Venti stated in the manga and from Aikawa Suzuma's line about the volcanic hot spring. It's cool, right? But this still doesn't say a fucking thing. Here's where everything got interesting. In Genshin's trailer, Daneslave said something about NATLAN.
The rules of war are woven in the womb.
This line itself confirms that NATLAN is the land of war. On top of that, this is also proven by Nivelet's line that stated the endless ring of war has started in NATLAN. If you watch Genshin's trailer in German's device, NATLAN's name was spelled this way. Well, not much of a difference. But if you realize, NATLAN resembles the name Aztlan, which is the ancestral home of the Aztec people. Maybe it's just a coincidence? Maybe, but there's no such a thing in Genshin Impact. Aztec were a warrior culture empire that centered around war to figure out their politics and economy, which is somehow fit what Daneslave said in the trailer.
The rules of war are woven in the womb. The victors shall burn bright, while the losers must turn to ash.
But even after all of those tiny tidbits, we still cannot pinpoint what NATLAN gonna represent. Until you realize it's actually already hinted this whole time. In every new character release, there's always a quote that talks about this new character. For example, when Nahida's drip marketing was released, we have Nivelet's quote that talks about Nahida. And few months after that, we finally know that Nivelet is an important character in the story. And just like that, if we look into Nivelet's drip marketing, we have this. Sublime...
Shibalanke.
I strongly believe that
Shibalanke
is a character from NATLAN that will hold an important role in the story progression. And if you realize, this exact similar name
Shibalanke
is the name of one of Maya's hero twins, which is directly connected to the Mesoamerican mythology. Up until now, we're only guessing about which culture NATLAN gonna be based off on. But in Genshin 4.4 livestream, we actually got something very interesting that some of us might have missed. In this clip, we could see one of Genshin's developer have this book on his desk. Which turned out, that book is a book about an environment history of Latin American by Sean William Miller. This is aligned with the music that we heard during the NATLAN scene in the trailer. And with Ayansan's appearance, we might see another mixed culture region like Sumeru, as Ayansan's name is related to Yoruba culture. But then, the most interesting question is, what kind of story NATLAN gonna represent? We know HYVers often use myths, fairy tale, or even a historical event for their lore inspiration. So when it's come to NATLAN, if it's really used Latin American culture, maybe we might see the Flower War reference. It's a story about the Aztec at that time thought the gods were angry at them because the Aztec had suffered from crop failure and severe drought, which led to famine and many deaths in the central Mexican highland. And they believed to solve that they needed as human sacrifice as many as possible, which is why the Flower War exists in the first place. It's said that Flower Wars were generally less lethal than typical war, but the long-running Flower War could be increasing deadly over time. The captured commoners during this time was started to be killed, but the captured nobles was frequently released. If this is indeed the reference they took for the next region, it might be related to what Nivelet means by the endless ring of war, and might also the reason why Liben said he didn't want to go to NATLAN. I mean, we know he's an optimistic merchant in every situation. Heck, he even went to Fontaine when he knew things just felt oppressive and dangerous in there. But to make him not wanting to go to NATLAN, this might be a serious reason for it. And also, in his last appearance, out of nowhere, Liben talked about sun. Well, this might be too early and too short for information, but if it does referring to something, who knows, we might also see the fifth sun mythology reference, which also related to Mesoamerican culture, which basically talk about the fifth cycle of creation and destruction the world has gone through. Just like how we speculated or know that Tevat is his samsara. I cannot explain this at the most detailed way, but if you find it interesting, you can check this video to learn more about it. So the summary is, we might take a huge copium that NATLAN will be based on the Mesoamerican or Latin American culture, myths, or history. The Endless Ring of War could take reference from the Flower War, and we might also get the fifth sun reference, as we know Tevat is somehow looks like a samsara. But that's just my speculation. What about yours? Let us know in the comment section. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.